In the small town of Eerie, Japan sat an old hospital, abandoned for decades. Locals whispered about its dark past, claiming that the hospital was plagued by mysterious deaths and unexplainable occurrences. One day, a curious journalist named Aya arrived in Eerie, determined to uncover the truth behind the hospital's eerie reputation. As Aya wandered through the decrepit building, she couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of unease. The air was heavy, pregnant with the weight of unsolved mysteries. Aya's heart skipped a beat when she noticed a faded photograph hanging on the wall. It was a group picture of the hospital's previous staff, their bright smiles now hauntingly frozen in time. Intrigued, Aya delved deeper into the hospital's history, poring over old newspaper clippings and dusty records. Each article told tales of sudden deaths, strange disappearances, and patients who claimed to see ghostly apparitions. Aya knew she had stumbled upon something sinister. She couldn't resist the allure of the unknown. She had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Late one night, armed with her camera and a flashlight, Aya descended into the hospital's infamous basement. The flickering light cast eerie shadows on the damp walls, making her skin crawl. The further Aya ventured, the more she sensed a malevolent presence lurking around her. Whispers echoed through the halls, sending a chill down her spine. Suddenly, Aya's flashlight flickered and died. Panic washed over her as darkness enveloped the basement. Her heart raced, and a cold sweat covered her brow. Desperate, Aya fumbled for her phone and activated its flashlight. The hospital seemed even more spine-chilling in its feeble glow, the air suffused with an unnatural heaviness. Aya's breath hitched as she stumbled upon a hidden room. It was a small, windowless space that seemed untouched by time. The dust coating the room bore witness to its long abandonment. In the center of the room stood a rusty metal gurney, stained with what could only be dried blood. Aya's mind raced with horrifying possibilities. As she scanned the room, her eyes fell upon a decrepit journal lying on the ground. With trembling hands, she picked it up and began to read the entries inside. The journal chronicled the experiments conducted in the hospital years ago. Experiments that bordered on madness, testing the limits of life and death. Aya's heart sank as she read through the gruesome accounts. It seemed that the hospital had once been a breeding ground for the most macabre of scientific pursuits. Chilled to the bone, Aya knew she had to escape the hospital and expose its dark secrets to the world. But just as she turned to leave, a shadowy figure appeared from the darkness, blocking her path. The figure was gaunt, its eyes hollow and filled with an otherworldly glow. It moved towards her, a low moan escaping from its cracked lips. Fear gripped Aya's heart, but her determination to survive pushed her forward. She clutched the journal tightly and ran, weaving through the labyrinthine hallways of the hospital. Each corner she turned revealed another terrifying sight, a ghostly figure reaching out to her, a disembodied cry echoing from the walls. The hospital seemed alive with the tortured souls of its past victims. Finally, Aya burst through the hospital's front doors and into the moonlit night, gasping for breath. She collapsed onto the cold ground, the journal clutched tightly in her grasp. As she caught her breath, Aya knew she had escaped the clutches of the hospital's dark past. But she also knew that her journey had only just begun. She had the evidence she needed to expose the horrors that had occurred within those walls. Aya spent the following weeks diligently compiling her findings into a comprehensive report. The more she delved into the hospital's history, the more sinister revelations came to light. With her report in hand, Aya reached out to international news organizations, determined to bring attention to the atrocities that had occurred in Eerie's cursed hospital. Weeks turned into months, and Aya's efforts paid off. Major news outlets began to take notice of her story, demanding answers and accountability from the town of Eerie. The townspeople, haunted by their own complicity in the hospital's past, felt a growing unease. They found themselves caught between defending their beloved home and facing the dark secrets they had ignored for far too long. Soon, The hospital became a focal point of national interest. Investigators, reporters, and paranormal enthusiasts flocked to Eerie, eager to uncover the truth for themselves. Aya, now a central figure in the unfolding drama, found herself surrounded by a mix of skepticism and support. Some hailed her as a hero, while others dismissed her as nothing more than a crazed journalist seeking attention. Despite the challenges, Aya remained steadfast in her pursuit of justice. She formed alliances with other truth seekers, determined to dig deeper and expose the full extent of the hospital's dark past. Together, they formed a team of investigators, each with their own unique expertise. They scoured the hospital's records, interviewed witnesses, and conducted paranormal investigations to gather evidence. As the team delved deeper into the hospital's past, they unearthed a web of corruption and malevolence. It seemed the hospital's experimentation had gone far beyond anything they could have imagined. Aya's team discovered evidence of human experimentation, black market organ trade, and even rumors of occult rituals conducted within the hospital's walls. The more they uncovered, the more their lives were threatened. Mysterious accidents plagued the team, and several members were forced into hiding as they uncovered unspeakable secrets. Undeterred, Aya and the remaining team members pressed on. They knew the truth had to be revealed, no matter the personal cost. One night, as Aya pored over a recently discovered document, she noticed a peculiar name mentioned repeatedly: Dr. Masaru Takahashi. His name seemed to be at the center of all the hospital's dark deeds. Intrigued, Aya focused her investigations on finding out more about Dr. Takahashi. But as she dug deeper, she discovered that he had vanished without a trace years ago, leaving behind only dark rumors and unanswered questions. Determined to find him, Aya followed a trail that led her to a remote village deep within the mountains, where rumors of secret societies and forbidden knowledge circulated. The village welcomed Aya with a mix of curiosity and caution. Locals spoke in hushed tones, warning her about the dangers that lay ahead. They refused to reveal anything about Dr. Takahashi, coating the mystery in an even thicker layer of darkness. Aya knew she had to tread carefully. She couldn't trust the villagers, nor could she dismiss their warnings. She continued her search quietly, tiptoeing through a dangerous game of cat and mouse. One evening, as Aya wandered through the village's ancient cemetery, she stumbled upon an unmarked grave. A cold shiver ran down her spine as she sensed a presence nearby. Aya turned around to find herself face to face with an elderly man, his eyes clouded with both wisdom and madness. He introduced himself as Ishiro, the village's oldest resident. Ishiro's voice quivered with suppressed fear as he revealed the village's dark secret. Many years ago, Dr. Takahashi had arrived, promising the villagers prosperity and protection in exchange for their allegiance. The villagers, driven by desperation, agreed to Dr. Takahashi's terms. But soon, they realized the true nature of his experiments, a pact with darkness that had transformed their village into a breeding ground for supernatural entities. Ishiro confessed that the only way to stop the horror was to find and destroy Dr. Takahashi's secret laboratory hidden deep within the mountains. Fueled by a newfound determination, Aya convinced the terrified villagers to assist her in the hunt for the laboratory. Armed with the knowledge of the past and the will to protect their village's future, they set off into the treacherous mountains. As they trudged through the dense forest, a heavy fog settled around them, obscuring their path. The air grew frigid, and whispered voices seemed to surround them, brushing against their ears like a sinister serenade. Days turned into nights, and nights turned into an eerie sleeplessness as they ventured further into the mountains. Aya's resolve wavered, but she pressed on, spurred by the hope of saving the villagers and exposing the truth. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the team stumbled upon a long-forgotten cave entrance. It was hidden beneath thick vegetation, a final gateway to the secrets that had haunted Eerie for decades. Holding their collective breath, They entered the cave, their flashlights cutting through the oppressive darkness. The walls seemed to whisper, the weight of years of suffering permeating the air. As they journeyed deeper into the cave, their hearts pounding, they stumbled upon a hidden laboratory. The room was filled with ancient medical equipment, decayed books, and jars filled with unknown substances. It was a macabre scene, straight out of a nightmare. Aya's heart sank as she realized the truth. Dr. Takahashi had continued his experiments long after the hospital had closed, his depravity knowing no bounds. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and the walls of the laboratory began to shift. The team looked on in horror as the room transformed into a monstrous, pulsating entity, a living testament to Dr. Takahashi's twisted legacy. Panic seized Aya and the team as tendrils of darkness snaked towards them, threatening to ensnare their souls. They fought back, desperately, wielding their makeshift weapons against the seemingly invincible horror before them. With each blow, the creature weakened, its monstrous form faltering. Aya's heart swelled with a glimmer of hope as she realized that they might have a chance to eradicate the darkness once and for all. They fought tooth and nail, their mission written in every strike. The room echoed with the cries of battle, the clang of metal, and the defiant roars of those who refused to be consumed by the evils that had plagued their lives. Finally, with one last strike, Aya severed the creature's main artery, causing it to collapse in a thunderous cacophony of defeat. The room fell into a silence that enveloped their panting breaths, reassuring them that victory was theirs. As they caught their breath, Aya's eyes caught sight of an ancient journal lying on a nearby desk. She picked it up, flipping through its pages, its secrets revealing the extent of Dr. Takahashi's perversions. The journal spoke of forbidden rituals, attempts to summon demonic entities, and the horrifying truth that the doctor's experiments were not limited to the walls of the hospital or the villagers of Eerie. Aya realized the dark truth that the hospital and the village were a mere microcosm of a greater evil lurking within Japan itself. Dr. Takahashi's influence and power extended far beyond their comprehension. Determined to put an end to the madness once and for all, Aya resolved to travel the length and breadth of Japan, seeking out clues, allies, and the remnants of Dr. Takahashi's experiments. Joined by a few survivors from the village, they embarked on a perilous quest, each step unraveling a new layer of Dr. Takahashi's intricate web of darkness. They traveled to desolate islands, abandoned research facilities, and remote mountain villages. Along the way, they encountered grotesque creatures, eldritch abominations born from the twisted ambitions of Dr. Takahashi. With every encounter, Aya's resolve grew stronger. No longer was she merely seeking justice for one hospital or one village. She was fighting to protect all of Japan from the grasp of this unspeakable evil. Throughout their journey, Aya's persistence and courage inspired others to join their cause. Together, they formed a resistance movement, vowing to expose the truth, protect innocent lives, and vanquish the darkness that had shrouded Japan for far too long. As their numbers grew, so did their influence. Aya's team gained the attention of influential figures within the government and the media, none of whom was willing to be complacent in the face of such overwhelming corruption. The movement sparked a national outcry. Protests erupted outside government buildings, demanding justice for the victims of Dr. Takahashi's abominable experiments and an end to the silence that had allowed such horrors to flourish. The government, faced with mounting pressure, launched a national investigation into Dr. Takahashi's activities and the deep-rooted corruption that had allowed them to persist. The nation watched with bated breath as public trials unfolded, revealing the full extent of Dr. Takahashi's crimes. The horrors inflicted upon innocent lives were brought to the forefront, forcing society to confront its darkest secrets. As the trial reached its climax, Aya stood before a packed courtroom, delivering a powerful closing argument. Her voice rang out, echoing with the pain and suffering of the many victims whose stories had been silenced for far too long. The jury's verdict was swift guilty on all counts. Dr. Takahashi was sentenced to life imprisonment, his name forever etched in infamy. Aya's fight had come to an end, but her mission to restore justice and protect Japan from the darkness was far from over. She vowed to continue her work, championing the rights of victims and fighting against corruption in every corner of society. The nation rallied around Aya, celebrating her as a symbol of resilience and hope. Her name became synonymous with justice, her story inspiring others to stand up against the horrors that lurked in their midst. With hearts emboldened, citizens across Japan joined forces to create a unified front against corruption and darkness. Together, they took up Aya's cause, determined to ensure that Dr. Takahashi's reign of terror would never be forgotten or repeated. Years later, Aya stood on a hill overlooking the now revitalized town of Eerie. The hospital that had once been a source of fear and despair was now a symbol of triumph, transformed into a community center dedicated to healing and remembrance. Aya's legacy had created a world where the horrors of the past were confronted, where victims found solace, and where the pursuit of justice was the driving force behind every decision. As she stood there, a gentle breeze brushed against her face, whispering tales of gratitude and triumph from the countless lives she had touched. Aya smiled, knowing that her fight had been worth it. The darkness had been banished, but Aya remained ever vigilant. She knew that evil could rear its head at any moment, and she had committed herself to never let it take hold again. Aya's story continues to inspire future generations to stand against the shadows, to never be complacent in the face of injustice, and to always strive for a world where the light of truth prevails. And so, as the sun set over the town of Eerie, casting long shadows that danced upon the walls of the rejuvenated hospital, Aya's journey continued, a beacon of hope in a world that had learned that the only way to conquer darkness was to face it head-on. In the ever-changing tapestry of life, Aya would forever be a guiding light, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit has the power to rise above, to vanquish, and to heal. And in Eerie, the hospital's dark past would forever serve as a solemn reminder that the pursuit of truth and justice is a never-ending battle, one worth fighting for, no matter the cost.